Peace. My name is Shalina Ali. Welcome to another True School podcast conversation. Today we are so excited to have our guests with us from the Black Historical Museum. We have Jamila and Jeremy with us. How you doing, Jamila?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Grateful to have you guys here. So bring us in. What are we talking about today?
So we're talking about the Milwaukee Hip Hop Archive project, an important project. We're partnering with you all. So it's us. It's Wisconsin Black Historical Society and True School. And we had this idea, let's find a place that would be safe for Milwaukee's hip hop stories. Archives, we're talking about music, we're talking about artifacts, we're talking about everything. So we decided, because it's the 50th anniversary, let's take an actual project and say, I need your information. I need to be able to tell this story the correct way. And that's why Wisconsin Black Historical Society's here. True School's here to actually bring relevance to the hip hop part of it. Not that I can't do that, but you all bring that credibility that we need so that we can get the people in. And then we bring the part where we're archiving. We're the specialists in that. So we're archiving this story, and I think it's just truly important. So.
Yeah, and you're right. You guys are the specialists in that. And as we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop, and we're even approaching 20 years of True School, this celebratory look at where we have come from as a city and how it has shaped the experience for the young people right now, and then looking toward the future. It's a good time to take pause and let people tell their own stories. We each have our own unique perspective because we're living it. And we need each other's perspective for this story to be whole. So we just appreciate you guys as the experts coming in, partnering with us. And the natural response from that is going to be a citywide collaboration to tell this story.
Yep, and who better to tell your story than yourself? So we want the words to come from you all. We want you to say, this is what happened to me. This is how this happened. This is the result of it. We have people who come from everywhere looking for different stories at our museum. People coming to write screenplays, people doing research. So what better place to be a resource to people and for this story to be told? And our archives is important. It's not just, not just this story, but we have other things. Jeremy can tell you a little bit about some of the other stuff we have. But this is one thing that we're going to add to our archives to make sure that it's told.
Going off that, one of the things about the archives is the fact that we are sharing not only Milwaukee's story, but individual stories, as we mentioned previously. It's one of those ways of, I've had the opportunity to travel and work at a wide variety of different museums, and one of the things I've always loved is hearing the narrative from the perspective. Whether it was working up in the Wisconsin Dells and hearing the perspective of Native Americans and their experience there in the Dells, or, of course, here at the Wisconsin Black Historical Society, learning from those pioneers of Milwaukee hip hop and sharing that special and unique story that makes it special to Milwaukee. One of the exciting things we did was just initially started to talk to not only the local legends, but also those up-and-coming and emerging artists that it was really excited to see their excitement and just learn a little bit more about their stories, even if it was a few-minute conversation, just to gauge interest.
Right, and now, for point of reference, we kicked off the conversations at the CEO sessions at the Market Center on August 11th on hip-hop's 50th anniversary birthday. And those conversations continued into the Summer Park Jam music festival that was happening on the Peck Pavilion grounds outside of the center on the 12th, in which we had a DJ battle, breakdance battle, graffiti battle, and then we had a number of performances throughout the day. And so being able to draw from each of these different elements of hip hop and introduce this idea and project and raise the excitement with so many different artists is what Jeremy's referencing.
We had a good time. the festival. Both days.
Me too.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was so good to see like all different kinds of people
Yes.
come
That's
out.
hip-hop.
Yeah, that was powerful. I just want to tell you all that was very, very, very good thing to see, you know, different kinds of people coming out.
Thank you.
Both days.
Yeah.
And going off that, I think one of the exciting things was it really did encompass all of hip hop. A lot of times, I think modern, you think of the rappers. If you go old school, you're definitely thinking of the DJs.
Yeah.
And there's everyone else in between. And having all those people there in one place to share their stories and realize that we want their stories. We want to hear how you got into hip hop. We want to hear what you're doing and how you made it a life or a career, or
There you go.
it's still a hobby you're still working on. And another thing about us in the archives is showing a new generation, another generation of what you can actually do within the museum space.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think you think of the old ivory tower where no one's allowed to touch anything or you're not allowed to go anywhere. And just from personal experience, I was fortunate to work at the College Football Hall of Fame as their historian and curator. I also worked at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And never in my wildest dreams did I think sports and football history was an actual career. I can only imagine those up and coming students that realize that, hey, I could actually do something with hip hop in a museum historical space.
Yes.
Yeah, so what Jeremy's referencing is this project is kind of a two-prong. We're going to be collecting this information, artifacts, all that kind of stuff, but the other benefit of this is we're teaching the young people about archiving. We're teaching them about museum careers. We're teaching them what they can do in libraries, how to interview, how to talk to people, that kind of thing. So we're taking young people and saying, this is something that is not available to you all the time. Kids with other backgrounds get this exposure. And we're going to open this up to you so that you can understand this is what a museum job is. This is what happens. This is what we do from day to day. Because they often don't understand. When we have tours on our lower level, and then upstairs is our research library. You know, I can bring a group of young people up and they're just amazed. You're doing all this up here and you have all this. Somebody's keeping this. This is important. Your story is important.
You get paid to do
Yeah,
this?
exactly.
What?
Money. They don't even understand that their individual story is important. Their way of living, their traditions, their family's traditions. That's a story as well.
Yeah.
So just exposing them to that is another prong of this project. So,
And I think the process of the young people seeing the value in these stories, because we were younger.
Yeah.
So what we're asking people to tell is, you know, back in their memory at a time where they had no idea what their experiences were going to mold into. We have people from the hip hop community who grew up and they're educators now.
Yeah.
They're running businesses. They're working at the Wisconsin Historical Museum.
yeah.
You know, we're running True School. So all these different examples of where the value of what you're experiencing now could potentially lead you to is another part of why we need to tell these stories. So it's really dope because with the young people learning these different skills, so like coming in with that entry point of just wanting to be a creative and wanting to be in an environment with other creatives where you can really hone in on these different crafts and explore the different creative opportunities. The next curiosity is now like, how does this make me money? And that's where we go into those CEO sessions, the creative entrepreneurial opportunities, where they're learning the like how to create an invoice, how to create their resume, what a headshot looks like and the value of it. But we're not just saying like, hey, you need to create this blue collar portfolio. We're trying to say everything you do should come from a lens of creativity, and you can do it in a unique way that helps you stand out. So then, you know, to be able to have projects like this, and we have a few other really amazing things going on that our young people are participating in, is, you know, it's an example of us honoring their leadership now and not thinking about like who you might be eventually someday. And I think that right there is the part that I'm most excited about around this, and to, you know, to let the pioneers in Milwaukee know that we are grateful for everything that they've done.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think that's probably the most important thing is telling the story, but the most important is letting the young people's creativity come through with this project. I just think what you all are doing here is super important. I mean, I had an internship when I was 14 years old, and it was graphic design internship. And never in my wildest dreams did I think that, you know, I get to college and there are things that they can teach me, but because I'm exposed to this at an early age, when someone said, oh, let's take her creativity and teach her how to do this, when nobody else was going to take a 14-year-old who wouldn't talk, who wouldn't do anything else, but say, let me show you how to do this. That really opens your mind up. But it also opened my mind up to the business aspect of it, not just the artistic side of it. Just making sure that I knew the whole. So I did that all through high school. Yeah. So then I'm entering college, and I can also expand on other things because I learned other things. Yep. You know, I'm learning. She's a small business owner, and she's entrusting me to say, I'm going to teach you this. And me, as a woman and as a business person and as a museum administrator, I feel like that is my role. If someone gave that to me, I need to do that for somebody else.
That's right.
You know, and as a mother, I do that for my children, but there are children who don't necessarily have that. So let me open up what I know.
Exactly.
And say, let me teach you, because everything else will come. Yep. But if you're able to take someone's creativity, even if it's writing, even if it's, I mean, you put creativity in everything. There you go. So it just says, okay, what are you good at? What do you like? Let me expose you to it. So that is one of these, that's what this project also is about, you know, making sure that young people understand the sky's the limit. Yep. You can do it, you can say it, you can speak it, it's yours.
The sky is the limit. Mm-hmm. There's enough food for all of us to eat.
Yep.
And there is a value in what we culturally and creatively bring to the table, and that's in every aspect of this city you can think of, from marketing to fast food to curated events to, you know, the performative aspects. It doesn't matter, you name it, and folks need us at the table. And the other part is we need to make sure that we are myth busting the devaluing of our contributions.
Yep.
And this is a great way to unapologetically, out loud, be that example so that we stop focusing on negative narratives that waste our time. We are a poppin' city. We are resilient. Yep. We got leadership. We got young people that's coming up. And you know what? It's to the benefit of everyone, period.
Yeah. I completely agree. And going off that, I think it's so important to create those building blocks. And as you mentioned, with the exposure, is just giving students, young people, the opportunity to really explore that creativity and realize that it might not look how everyone else's creativity looks. I remember I struggled with it a long time, not feeling like I was creative because I couldn't draw, couldn't do any kind of artwork. But you give me a landscape of an exhibit, I'm gonna make it look real nice, you know? And so I think it's giving students those opportunities to explore their creativity. Yes. Maybe they're not as interested in artistic, you know, painting, drawing, and things like that, but they might love the fact that they're cataloging and making an archive space look good, but also be functional, creating systems. That is another form of expressing creativity.
Yes, it is.
Cool. I love it.
Me too.
I'm excited because I think this is also intergenerational, and it you know, when we hear these stories, I think the young people will better understand where we come from.
Yeah.
And what we had to go through as young people, because you know, you don't necessarily hear our generation of stories. You know, you hear the baby boomers and what they went through, and
right.
You know, they're not gonna stop telling it.
They screaming it from the mountaintops
all day. I'm sitting at work like, okay. Thank you. But I think this generation, hip hop generation, telling a story, because just, we get so much negative behind hip hop, and even with proposing this project, it was a hurdle.
Yeah.
I'm going to the powers that be at work, and they're like, what do you mean? This has shaped me.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. But you still, I don't have to explain that with jazz. Do we? No, we don't have to explain that with the jazz collection. We don't have to explain that kind of thing with everything else.
Yeah.
And those things are revolutionary as well, but so is hip hop. So
but hip hop's also young.
Yeah,
and that goes back to that narrative of young just having a bad reputation. We're young.
Yeah.
I get it, because I wanted to make sure we address that, because when we think about young is an idea.
Yeah.
Young is audacity. Young is excitement around something. This project was just born. And so when we talk about intergenerational, we have to be in the practice of not separating ourselves from each other throughout that narrative process. And I think that that's what this project is going to do. We got some people that have done amazing things in Milwaukee 20, 30 years ago, but they on to the next right now, and they're equally excited about it. And that's youthful to me.
Yeah.
So even to be able to say that you can be at this place in your career, everything that you have experienced has propelled you to this moment. Yep. And now you're also opening the doors to bring in the generation, not just behind you, but with you. Yeah. And that's a piece that that is kind of driving this project, is because that momentum is happening. We're not creating it. That momentum is happening.
Exactly. We're watching it. We're making sure that it's documented.
Yes.
We want to make sure that these stories are said, spoken out loud. This is happening. I feel this. This is happening here. This is happening because of this. You know what I'm saying? And all those stories being told is important. So everything has a background and a background story and a momentum and a movement. And explaining that and getting young people to see that, and old people and young people and in-between people.
And there we go.
To see that is what this is. So
going off that, I think, again, back to the building blocks, those older generations can share their knowledge and resources that they had. And sometimes I think it's great, because instead of taking the road that's less traveled, the road that's super difficult, someone who's already lived that life can show you, hey, instead of going A, B, C, and D, let's go right to E. I can show you how to get there quicker, and obviously, learning from past mistakes, past experiences.
And have a lot of fun along the way.
Absolutely.
We need to encourage joy.
Oh yeah.
Encourage fun. Encourage creativity. We don't owe nobody a continued experience of trauma. Like we have the right to move beyond that, is what I'm hearing you say, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
And that's really, for those who are listening, I hope you're excited as I think we are right now, especially getting a chance to even just talk about it from such a personal perspective. Even with us, we have to know what this means personally to us, as we also are putting the call out there for other folks to bring their own personal testimony to the table as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And for kicking off this conversation. We're going to have a lot more to talk about around this project. And we're going to hear from a lot more people in that process as well.
We are. We're just getting started.
Just getting started.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peace, y'all.
Thank you.